Well, hello, guys, and hopefully gals coming into the future. Welcome to the McGolf Shop. This is Jim McCleary, most award certified club maker, club fitter, and we are doing what's in your drawers, or what's in my drawers. And that came from trying to figure out how old-time club guys, what they have, and a kind of a historical value. And we get to talk about golf, golf equipment, just golf opinions as a whole, right? And that's what we're going to do going forward. So to cover today, number one, let's throw out a big congratulations, JT, for winning the latest golf tournament. What he had to do, shoot a 65 in order to come back and win it. That is pretty doggone good when you're talking about a final round. And what you're doing is you're starting to see the stars come alive, right? And I checked some of the stats. What surprised me is my man Phil was up there in there. So that was a great thing to have happen. Glad to see he's doing it at the age of 50, still being able to compete. All right. So what do we do? So it's kind of a review in a week of what we did. Out on my Twitter and out on the Instagram that I have for, it's McGolf Custom Clubs or at I Am McGolf. And I did I Am McGolf because at the time when we were doing this, that McGolf was actually taken as by some guy that was a VW guy. And so I put in there, I am McGolf. That was a suggestion. So that's what I took. Anyway, what we did is I took a picture of my latest set of, I had 2 sets of irons, 2 sets of wedges, and a driver. And what it was is probably the best example of custom fitting you could possibly come across. What do I mean by that? Well, the first set of the clubs were left-handed, graphite shafted set of irons, and they were these guys, the new levels, right? The guy, we tested them, and I put him through a lot of them, just hit those the best. And comes out that, I'm kind of particular with this one because it's basically a set that looks like mine. So that was pretty good. And then the next set was a set of HMBs, right-handed, obviously, and the first one was a 1/2 inch short. These guys are a 1/2 inch long, and the HMBs are for a high schooler, and he's going to be a min among boys when it really comes down to it. He is quite the fine young player for somebody that just extraordinarily athletic, and he's going to hit them well. And then we had our wedges, which 2 blue wedges and then 1 chrome wedge to finish out a set. But the blue wedges were particular for another customer. I believe he's in Tennessee as well. And they were going out to him. And then the driver is for local. Then every one of them had a little different nuances to them. And that was the beauty of custom, so that they fit everybody. Now, another one that's coming up is, and it's not we got to give these guys some love, is Wilson. The D7 forged, right? The D7 forged, and then they have the D7, which is the big game improver, where this is more of the distance category. We tend to go through a lot of the forged clubs. The ones that have a lot of offset around here don't go too big. However, I can see where they would be very, very good. But we do make a few sets. And my next one is the D7. However, the D7 Forge is winning out by far. So I'm just, shout out for the custom stuff, and that's really what we're looking for. All righty. So again, we'll get some more of the particulars out of the way. If you guys haven't noticed, I was able to engage Super Chat. There is absolutely, positively no requirement to do it. I'm just letting you know that it's out there, and that everybody's asking me about schools. Well, I started filming chapters yesterday, so we ought to be pretty good. So that's to get through all that. We talked about custom fitting, and we talked about some of the clubs that are coming. So let's talk about some golf gear. Jack from Lombard, Illinois, he wants to know, any news on the releases? Yes, there is. So let me take another step back. In order to kind of keep progressing what we're doing here, it seems that we're getting along and doing a lot of good things here. I started contacting some uh, companies, some golf companies, much like we did with Victor. That was Victor would be my rookie intro into this kind of stuff. And next week, we're going to have Eric Birch on here. He is the owner designer for New Level Golf. So bring your questions. We're going to talk about what it takes to get a company started in the golf industry and what he thinks is important in design. And it's funny that he knows quite a bit because he did what I'm doing years ago, and he's decided just to take no prisoners in the golf industry, and he's doing very, very well. So, which takes me into the Mizuno. All right, and I wanted to get Chris Vauchal on here, and we very, very well we're looking at the 17th or the next weekend in order for him to come on. And we've been talking about me trying to get a hold of these. And if you notice that there's been a slow, that they call it a leak. And okay, so in the industry, they call them leaks. They've got all the products in hand, and what they're trying to do is they're slowly but surely releasing it. And why do they do that? It's so that they can generate interest, right? Everybody does it, and so you can generate interest. And of course, Mizuno has a tremendous following across the globe, and for good reason. And the new ones are going to be JPX 921s. And I've only seen 2 pictures, which they've released, and they look to be just refinements on the 919s. So as companies release stuff, and it's good that they have the MP line, and then they have the JPX line. And so what they have is they release everything in 2-year increments. So this year it's the JPX, and they'll go through that, and then the following year it will be the MP, and then the following year be JPX, and then in between all of that, they're the ST. So we're at ST 200s in the drivers, which actually work very, very well. It's if you guys haven't had an opportunity to hit it, you ought to. It's a little thinner in the face. So if you like that particular look, something certainly to behold, because it is a spin killer. All right. However, the JPX appear to be refinements. Now, what does all that mean? I don't know yet, but there you're going to see, I would imagine you're going to see more of the same, where you're going to have a portion of the JPX in the tour, and maybe a forged concept where it's more of a one piece and a forged, and then you'll get into the hot metals again, because hot metals were very, very popular, still are. Very, very popular and very, very useful. They hit a ton. All right. Right now, I'm thinking that that the HMBs, if you needed a club that was very low in offset, that the HMB would be it. It looks very, I'm not going to say terrifying, but it looks like oh, it's a blade, I'll never be able to hit it. When in reality, it's not. It's just a really big cavity with a cap on the back. So it could look intimidating to your friends, and you could really put one over on them. So there you go, Jack. Hopefully that helps you. And thanks, guys. I upgraded my StreamYard, so hopefully this keeps going. All right. So Matt, what'd we shoot again? I was so busy this weekend, and we had all that truckload of rain, I wasn't able to get out. So I'm going to have to make up for it in here, I think. All right. Leeds, England. Wow, Joe, thank you so very much. That is outstanding. Tim is in from Kentucky. Tim, I'm digging on the knickers and the hickory stuff. I just had a guy in here from the I'm not sure, the Golfer Society is something that has to do with the older clubs that we took. I believe it was you. Somebody gave me I got this 6-month membership, and it's been pretty cool. I've been talking old clubs with a lot of people here as of late. And London, thank you, sir, again. Thank you for checking in. And then there you go. Hey, and the rep is visiting on, so we'll see. The embargo date, I believe, is August 10th. So I will be able to I'll be able to hit it, but I'll be able to release some pictures on that date as well. So that's pretty cool. Willard is in Ohio. Thank you. All righty, here we go. Mike wants to know, as a fitter, what's the benefit from counterbalance shafts, and is trimming the butt end to length any different than non? Okay, Mike. So counterbalance shafts. We talked about counterbalance shafts when we had Victor on, and a couple other times now. I like counterbalance shafts. Two things. A lot of people go, well, counterbalance shafts is just that. And if you look right there, that's one. That's a counterbalance shaft. That's the Nemesis from VA Composites, and it is a very good shaft. And so what it does is it places weight in your hand. Now, what is the end result of that? It depends on your feel. You can think that you have the feel in your hand, or you can think that it makes the head feel light. And that's the trick of it. And so some club builders will say, okay, that allows you to make a longer club without having a tremendously at a given weight without a tremendously heavy head. And that's true. You could do that. It would be my opinion, and I'm one of millions out there, that when you have a purposely counterbalanced shaft, it is to make the club lighter or to put the weight in your hands. Now, why do you want weight in your hands? Well, if you're a guy that has a quick tempo or a kind of a hard transition, it's not the weight that's here, it's the weight that's here, so you can find that club in the transition. And in reality, for me, and I don't have that. I just like a lighter feel, and it allows me to get the club closed, right? It allows me to get the club closed. So that's why the benefit of counterbalance shafts. Now, one of the best counterbalance shafts were out there was made by UST, and it was called the Harmon shaft. They had a Harmon line, and their CB shaft was outstanding, and I used it quite a bit. Now, and is trimming the butt end to length any different than non-counterbalance? No. So in some cases, you can trim both sides, especially in the counterbalance, you can do that, but you don't want to do it too much, right? And then non-counterbalance, it's the same thing. It's just the way the weight is spread out across the shaft will give the thing a different balance. So that's where it's at. All right. Luke from Champaign, Illinois. Thank you, sir, for coming in. All right. Oh, I went up a little too far. Let's see if I can make it go back down. Here we go. Stump. No. No. There was I've been asked about club making, club repairing, club building school, and to do it online, because let's face it, in the era of COVID and there's really one school to actually attend that really does a good job, that trying to do a good job with making videos so that you guys, if you're interested in it, can do it. And so I'm in the middle of talks with a golf company makes tools, that wants to get involved. So we just got to try and knock out the particulars. So there it is. But would that not be cool? We'd have to specialize in left-handed stuff. I don't know what kind of I don't know what we'd be doing it with all the left-handed stuff, but by golly, we would have it. Richard. All right, you can tell me if I'm butchering it or not, but is it Scunthorpe, England? Again, guys from England, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. And there's Jeff from Iowa again. Let's see, you're on the other side, so it's not Go Hawks, it's Go Cyclones. Bill in Massachusetts, nice. There we go, finally escaped the Yitz. There you go, man. Well done. Why is the left wrist hurting though? And is it because maybe that was giving you the yips? You never know. And Suffolk. Good night. Well, guys, thank you. That's impressive. I have to say, very nice. Thank you. And that is amazing. Jersey's in the house. Nolansville, Tennessee. Welcome, Tom, even for a first timer. Thank you, sir. Oh, here we go again. Matt, no rounds this week. Oh my gosh. All right. What's the coldest temperature I will play in? Well, it's nowhere near close to what you would do, dude, because I know it. I know what you play in. I won't call myself a fair weather golfer, but 50 degrees here. And if it dips low, it dips low. It's no big deal. But I have played in 34-degree weather. And it was in South Carolina. And we were just right off the water. And oh my God, I thought icicles were going to hang off of me. We had to wear 3 or 4 layers, and you'd strip off 2, make the swing, throw the layers back on, and go to the next hole. And I brought, around here, they call it a toboggan, basically a sock hat, and I pulled it over my ears, and I was wearing it, and these guys gave me so much heck for it. And I said, well, my ears are warm, and if it was a face covering, I would have worn that instead, but didn't have it. By the turn, those guys were running in there and trying to get some of their own. So there we go. Ha! So there we go. That's awesome. All right. Stiffer putter shafts. Well, and graphite. So if the story is true, and I don't have any reason to believe it is not, the standard steel putter shafts were designed initially when the putters were running around 220 to 245. Think the original Ping Anzer. All right, that was actually a very lightweight one. In fact, I still have one that I was using as a practice tool in another golf bag, and they were in the very low 200 area. And that's when most of them got their design. Well, now, because of manicured greens, that they've had to try and slow down the putter, and they did that by throwing weight on the head. Now, in anything else, if you have a same shaft and you put a heavier head on it, it makes it more flexible. Now, the question can be asked, we say, well, Jim, it's only a putter. It's not like you're full swinging it. And that would be true. However, you're talking about, and I've been using the Capto, and just a slight change of face angle can mean a quite a big difference, and it also will impact your consistency. Okay, so is there something to be said about it? Yeah, probably. I won't say that there's not, but it just depends. It really gets down into the nitpicky part of it. If you were a beginner golfer, would it make a big deal? Probably not. But as you improve, you start feeling or start hearing or start seeing the differences and the nuances in that. And I would say when you have the standard steel back weight, right? Use back weights, the Balance Certifieds or something along that way, and see if that doesn't help first. And then if not, then the super stiff, so that it's about control, because it's about how the hands move. And what I try to really quiet the hands in putting. So you either back weight it so that this doesn't engage, right? So you don't get that, right? And I try and get rid of that altogether. And if it's by back weighting, by making the club heavier, or even making the grip bigger, right? I have just 2 days ago, I had a gentleman in here that had smaller hands, but just was really handsy, and I made him. What I did is I gave him a bigger grip, and I took a cue from. There's a putting instructor in England who told me this, and about how he's involved or used to be with Charlie Hall, and and a trick that he showed me, and I showed it to him, and then I said, okay, now relax, and he putted very, very well, but with the bigger grip. As soon as I gave him a smaller one, the handsiness came back. So there's always that. Now, graphite putter shafts. There are a truckload of out there, and there's a lot of expense to some of them, right? And I think that's probably where this is leading. And is it worth it? Uh, if the putter, if your golfer is really looking for that last bit of tweak to get them over the hump or whatever, it's just like using an aftermarket graphite shaft in your driver. And if you're just, if they're trying to get over that hump and that's exactly what they need, then yes, go get it. However, that you will be ran into what would be bang for the buck. And do you get that, price for the pound, whatever, however you want to call it, based on you guys over on the other side. Now, Acra has a line of putter shafts. They're 100, 200, 300, 400 series, and each one of them is progressively heavier, and each one of them is progressively stiffer. So you can really, 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 really fine tune that. All right. And that would be something I would certainly consider, particularly if you're in the business doing that. Now, there is a guy in England. His name is Lee, and he is the extension for Acra. And I would certainly see him. If you're interested, just put something down in the show notes and I will get his email address for you. But I believe it's Lee something at Acra Golf Shafts. But since they've been turned over to True Sports, they may have refined the email address. But he is a super good guy, very knowledgeable, and he's got game. So he should be able to help you out. Oh, and if they really get their act together, they can probably custom paint them for you too. New Levels versus Miura. Well, Richard, I tell you what, I've had both in the shop. I've built both, as a matter of fact, and they are totally different types of clubs, to be sure. I know how both are made, and obviously I have a little bit more of an allegiance with Eric than I do the Miura. I don't want to give either group down the road. They both have their place in the world, but Miura was the boutique brand. It was the most expensive club until PXG got on the line, and it caught Miura sleeping, and they got left behind. They're a very stoic golf company, meaning they don't like a lot of change, and they're forced into doing some change to be relevant again. And are they doing it? Yes, I think that they are. But they got a lot of catching up. Where I believe it may come in conversation, it may not. That Eric actually worked for Miura for just a little bit, and I'm not going to get into the story. Maybe we bring it up in topic next Monday. And but the Miura or the New Levels have been phenomenal. They've for a basically a new company. It's only been a couple of years now. For basically a new company, he is hitting the mark when it comes to the irons. Now I'd like for him to spread his wings a little bit and maybe run into the putters, or even he's done some wedges, which the wedges are really well. He needs to do a left-handed one, but maybe spring into the hybrid and see what that's all about, and let him work his magic into that, or maybe get somebody that's really good with hybrid design and be part of it. But the types of steels, I believe, are very similar. The difference that you'll have in the difference in the Miura is that the hosel spin milled on, and that's what gives it its softness. It actually it gives it that muted feeling. That's what that's for. Where New Level is, it's forged into a particular shape, and then they CNC mill it for some more precise weight removal. So that's what that is. Mike Hetrick would love to see the PGA Tour combined for a 72 charity tournament. They cannot be newer than 19. That would be fun to see. Now they have, they have done that. They've combined for a tournament, but not with the older and the smaller clubs. There's no. I've seen some where they've talked about, they get a particular hole and they give them the wooden clubs there, or the wooden headed clubs to go hit and watch them hit it. It's been pretty funny. And I'm on a different glass, but sorry guys in England, but I got a Scotland glass today. Alrighty. But yeah, it would be fun to see. We're starting to see some more of the kind of a resurgence of the old hickory stuff. Anytime, sir. Anytime. Well, right now, John, I did a review on GolfWorks. Just released one that was called the STI2, and it is a left-handed. It's a cast, and it's a nice little club. It'll do exactly what you're asking for. Um, they're probably the ones that I would look at if you're looking for now. If you want something a little uh, more better player type stuff, that one's going to be a little bit tougher. Where would that be? There are some out there. It used to be, well, KZG does it, but I don't know if they would sell. They normally only sell to club makers. Um, there was another one out there started with an A. I'll think about it, and they would sell to you. That's not a problem, but I would look at those guys. Another lefty, Dave. We're getting ready to have a criticality, man. Yeah, wouldn't that be something? For the lefties in the world, there's been there's a world left-handed golf tournament out there that travels around the world, and they have it in different areas. And the last time that they had it, I believe it was in Japan, and they were getting ready to have it in England. And I don't know if they still are or not because of all this going on. The U.S. has one, my Ohio has one, and they break it down. So you might look for International or Left-Handed Golfers Association. It's pretty cool. All right. Well done. Watch out, man. You get the club making bug, and it might cost you a little bit. Jake, he's from Wisconsin. Well done, buddy. Uh, just as I was trying to talk to Chris Voshal and Mizuno, I'm also talking to John Pergande, who is the R&D guy from Wilson, and he is actually from Wisconsin, just right across the line in Kenosha. My sister lives just south of that. She's the first exit off of the highway once you get past, so not too bad. All righty. Jake, not from State Farm. That's good. Khakis. All right. Is my yes, it is three ply. They come in they probably widths about like that, and I've got it out to about that wide, but yeah, you got to get a few layers. And you want the red, the maroon color. The different colors mean different coarsenesses. Now you could change it out if you want, I suppose, but man, that those wavy wheels aren't. You got to get them to comply with you for a while. Well, there you go. Well done, Wade. Good job. Did they come in? Did they come in? Did you get it in different color? Because sometimes they have different colors in that. I know black and white, but sometimes you can talk them out of a green or even a blue or something like that. Ricardo. So if you just cut down a putter from 35 to 32, you don't lose physically, you don't lose any weight in the head. It makes the club feel lighter to be sure, but what I would do before doing anything to it is giving it a few putts and just see if it doesn't feel better. Sometimes it does. If it feels just extraordinarily too light, you can do a couple of things. And one is old school. You can put some stuff down the shaft and then run a cork in behind it. But I will say that does take some skills. But you know, if you got it, then good. If not, then it's time to break out the lead tape. New level wedges, right? That tri-level he's got's pretty sweet looking, and it's massively heavy. And the cool part about it is that you can change the weights on it, so you can get it to where you can adjust your feel. And I think that's just so cool. And I'd like to see him do that. Dude, if you're beating them up with the i3, there's no reason why not to. You know, the i3s are the i3 blades. Man, that's gaming right there. Nope, wait, yep, we did that one. Well, long drive. Well, hopefully you're doing good, man. A guy just brought in. It's funny you should say that. A guy brought in a old Cobra S3. Remember those driver heads? They weren't real big, but they're good shape, good looking shape. And it's 5 degrees. I have no idea. He says he's been sitting on this thing for a couple of years, obviously so. And he was wanting to try his hand at long drive. So I asked him if he was aggressive. Sure enough, he was. And I gave him an Acra FX 2.0 yellow. Those are the ones that are for the guys that are pretty stout in their swing. And we made it into an X or the M5, which is X Flex, but it always plays way more stiffer than advertised. And I say, well, here you go, man. Let's see what happens. And he brought it back 2 days later, and it had a rattle in it. And it was what had happened is something came loose in the head, as things tend to do. And he looked at me and I said, dude, I didn't heat the head or anything. I just stuck some stuff together. And so I took the club apart, pulled out the hosel plug, put some rattle stop in it, and immediately went away. And I think what I did is I may have helped him anyway by putting a little weight into the sole to help the ball get up. So not too bad. Michael McGinnis, wondering how hard it is to reshaft a Scotty Cameron putter with the new KBS shaft. I heard Scotties are hard to reshaft. Well, the funny part is Scotties are easy to take apart. They're a ginormous pain in the butt to put back together because they do not use the standard 370 putter or the tip that goes in it. What has been told, and I tend to believe it, is they will use a taper tipped head almost from like an X Flex and an 8 iron or a 9 iron. That's what I've been told, that, you know, that's a lot of rumor. However, it does use a smaller shaft tip. And to get it exactly back into that, you're not going to do it because they're not going to sell you the shaft. You can get pretty close, but that's just where that sits. Now, if you got machinist skills, you can also make the opening bigger, and then you can use a regular shaft. I've done that, but you got to be massively careful because on a lot of the ones that are like the Answers, there's not a lot of room. There just isn't, and you got to go slow, and then that you don't want to throw off any of the centricity. I guess that's the best way to the concentricity of it. So you want to be careful with that one. If it's a really nice Scotty, you might just bite the bullet and send it right back to them. It's going to take you a while and cost you way more, but when it comes back, it's done, and it's done to their specs. There's my buddy from Sweden. I was wondering if you were going to make it in there. Well done. Thanks for showing up, man. Oh, what's the advantages? Well, I guess depends on if you like a smaller looking head, then that's the advantage. So 440, you're talking about CCs. And so how do you do that? Well, basically it's about water displacement, and how much it displaces when you push it into basically a bucket of water. Does it displace 440 or 460? Typically 440s are smaller and they're taller in the face, and that makes it for somebody who is old school or gets they will be, I don't know, intimidated by a larger head. Although nowadays what you're seeing is black paint, taller faces, and smaller approaches, and some are bigger, but that's where that's at. Some will say that you're still relegated to a weight, right? You're still relegated to a weight of around 205, 200, 205, and so you can move some weight around a little bit more discriminately. But as far as any real comparison, um, they say for the better ball striker, allows them to work the ball more. I don't know. If you had, it's just like the argument between forged and cast. If you had two of the same exact makes and one was forged and one was cast, could you tell the difference, and would the performance be any different? I would venture a guess to say that the answer is no. A very small. There are people out there that have that sensitivity, particularly in the pro ranks. However, not all. Even at that high level, that 0.1% of all the golfers, I would imagine you're about a 50-50 split there. So the difference here is it's more, honestly, more preference. Well, Crank is still out there, and I know that they would make that kind of stuff for you, and they're actually quite nice. So, yeah. So I would stay with him. In fact, Alvin is out there. He's now the rep. I've known him since the days of Pure Grip, and I'm sure he would be more than happy to help. Phil from Edinburgh. I don't know if you got to see, but there you go, man. All right, here we go. The mini drivers, the little Franken burners or whatever they're calling those guys. We call them thrivers here, and they're kind of higher lofted type clubs, so you can hit them off the fairway as well. Hence thriver, and a lot of guys like them. But what happens typically is the newness of the club wears away when they see their buddies with the bigger drivers sometimes out driving them, and it's not the fault of the driver. It's the fault of the drivee. And but if it's working for you, dude, throw it down the middle and take everybody's money. I would do that in a second. Here we go. Well, there you go. Zubac's was a phenomenal long driver, and I think he represents him well to this day. Particularly, I believe he was a pharmacist. Dude's a gorilla, and it's just what's happened is that they grew up bigger and stronger than him, and they just hit him out of there. Harrison was a favorite of a lot of them back in that time frame, to be sure. Now it's Horsepower Golf, I believe, is one of the favorites because it's made by a guy that was in long driver, designed whatever, and so you can get it out there. That's good though. If you can keep up with that stuff, you're doing all right. Nice, Alex. Did you get your hole in one yet? You got to keep up with the brother, man. I'm glad that you like them. They were actually very fun to make. So for you don't know, we were talking about in my last video about a gentleman getting a hole in one, and that was Brian, Alex's brother, and he sends us this stuff, and I swear I don't know who his contacts are, but he comes up with some of the some of the coolest stuff. That last on last week's live stream when I was showing you the 3-wood, that was his, and he was telling us that he had gotten his hole in one, and that Alex was just waiting on his clubs. So I'm glad. Hopefully you can stripe it like him. Brian said he played a lot of collegiate golf and he was looking to get to a plus handicap again. I can't even I can't even dream about that kind of stuff. So that's great. Have you noticed a big difference in ball speeds between the Epic and the Maverick? Oh, well, the funny part is I had one of each. And the Big Bertha Epic was louder and it was a little thinner in the face and it got a little taller in the Sub-Zero for the Maverick, and it had a different way it flew. And they said that, from Callaway, that they were seeing 1 to 3 miles an hour ball speed. And again, that's all depending on who hits it. Well, in reality, that could be 7 yards. It could be as low as 2, but it could be as high as 7, which when you're talking a driver, that's pretty decent because that's a whole nother club for the most part. And so that, but did I notice it? Not necessarily, no. But, it has a lot to do with ball striking. You got to actually find the middle of the club face. Once you find the middle of the club face, yeah. But right now, as it turns out, I'm gaming in fact, I got it right over there. I'm gaming the Maverick CZ with a Acura FX 2.0 red, and I'm looking over there like it's gonna talk to me or something. But yeah, and I am just slaughtering. There's one. It's gone from my least reliable club to my most reliable club for the most part, and I'm hitting things out there that are just in places that I've never been before. So I can't speak well enough for the Maverick. Now, does that mean the Epic is bad and you got a deal out there? No, it's all in the way that at that particular point, it's all about looks and your ability to tweak it. The thing that the Epic has that is a thing that I truly enjoy, and it's a great fitting tool, is that slider. The Maverick does not have that, and you have to kind of rely on weight. And I prefer the slider because it's just instantaneously changed. There you go. That's a thriver, man. That's what we were talking about. A lot of guys kill it. Chances are the reason why you're hitting it so straight is because it's short, right? It should be closer to 43 and a half, 44 inches, and you're just smoking it. It's just easier to control. That's good. Raymond went from playing standard lie to needing 4 degrees flat for my teenager. How can that be done without needing new heads? Well, if you're talking about giving him your clubs and you need to go to 4 degrees flat, if they're forged clubs and they haven't been jacked around too much, you should be able to get there. All right. As a whole, and this is tradition across the industry, that forged clubs you can bend about 4 degrees, where cast clubs you can bend 2. Now, there are always exceptions to the rule, just like every place else out there. And if you have a cast club that's made from a quality group that's allowed to be bending, then you very well may sneak it in there. But from a safety standpoint, 2 degrees on cast, 4 degrees on that, and if you can get there, then you don't need any new heads. And I would go with that. Now, for 4 degrees flat, I will say this, Raymond. 4 degrees flat is a red flag to me, and meaning that if you get outside 3 degrees gives me concern, but if you get outside 3 degrees, to me, that means there's something else wrong. All right, something is out of whack. And if you're at that particular point, chances are, I'm going to guess, that the clubs are too long. Unless your golfer, your teenager has a massively flat swing, and it would have to be massively flat. But I would check and make sure that you have the right length before looking at doing all that bending. Redemption. Where's Bunker Hill, man? I wonder where Bunker Hill's at. Kind of key. I keep telling on myself, but Mrs. McGolf and I actually met each other in Logansport, and we were there through our high school time. So I don't remember Bunker Hill. I don't know. We got a lot of friends in Indianapolis now. They've all moved out of the. It's like living where we live now in the middle of nothing. They've all went to the big city. So, uh, where's that at? I wonder. That'd be nice to know. Holy cow, Alex! So you playing to a plus handicap already? If you're beating him, or are you just both? Are you just both? You just both that good? Good night, man. I bet you guys are terrible on scrambles, or terrible to be against. And as you should, Alex. Brothers, that's the way it should be. Don't give him an inch. Dale, can you please fix my driver? Dale, I can't do anything about the dents, man. I can reshaft it if you want, but I can't do anything about the dents. Uh, that's just the way it is. Uh, so I don't know what you want to do. What I would do is send an email out here or give the shop a call and let Robin talk to you about what it would cost to get it done. That way you can talk particulars. We'll go from there. Zubiak. Yeah, you know what? I can only imagine that he is a good guy. And he was a pharmacist in town. There you go. Live wire, huh? I've not seen that one. That'd be cool. That'd be cool to hear it out. So are you playing out? Are you getting ready to go? Well, are they going to even have a tournament in Las Vegas this year? That'd be something, though. Are we going to see you in Las Vegas? Maybe we can just get and do a live stream while you're on Las Vegas. That'd be cool. Mike got fitted today for the Maverick and the Smoke. Okay. Small batch. Ooh. He had that? Currently playing the ZZ bought the shaft. Uh, I will say this, Mike, that they are not the same club, just up or same head, just updated. They are significantly different. Okay. In the shape of the club, the aerodynamic of the club, and the sound of the club. So it is a much different club head. If you got tested and you fitted and you showed a massive improvement for that, then I would say yeah, go for the Maverick. But as part of the fitting, you should have hit yours just to see if you could get close to it. Well, Dale, just figure out what. Yeah, let us know what kind of shaft it was, and we'll see if we can't find it so that it looks like it did. But let us know because 2013, chances are, I don't know. We'll have to see. So Jeff, you would be 100% correct. All right. The so we can always start off with on tour. The average length on tour is between 44 and a half and 44 and three quarters. That's most. And that's guys that are short to super duper tall. And how can you say that? Well, when you're short, your arms are shorter. When you're tall, your arms are longer, and you can have that same stance and can use the same club. However, I did this about 3 years ago. I took every fitting that I've ever done and I called them up and I put them on an Excel spreadsheet. And by far and away, 44 and a half was the longest club hit. Now, I don't mean in length, but in distance was the longest one, and then the longest one hit well. The 44-inch club was tighter in dispersion. So as a whole, unless you're sick, only great shot you did, you're not doing yourself any favors. You want to talk about all the great shots that you've hit, and that would be when you can hit them the same and going into a shorter club. And again, we'll bust another myth right out of the box that shorter club, they're like, oh, it's shorter, you're not going to hit as far. No, that's totally wrong. If you go shorter and your quality of your hit, your smash factor goes up, you'll by far and away surpass the 45.5-inch length. So there you go. There you go, Maverick Women's. That's a great club too. And the helium shaft is also another one. As a teenager, probably the lightest one to go with is the way to go. But again, if she is a shorter gal, and you might want to just have her choke down, maybe just for the sake of argument, have her go out the range, choke down about an inch, and then see what happens. And if she's less than that, and then you go for that. Which brings it right into here. Her arms are very long. So again, which would bring me back to the length of the club, right? Just because I would just seriously take a look at, unless she's striping the ball, then if it's not broke, don't fix it. But seriously, if she's having trouble with consistency, check the length of the club. John wants to know how I feel about hard stepping or soft stepping shafts. Do it all the time. It depends on what the golfer needs, right? Hard stepping makes it a little more stronger, just a tick lower ball flight, just the opposite for soft stepping. And we're talking about changing it, thirds of flexes. So if you needed to go up in one and you really didn't want, you weren't going to see too much of a change in the flight. So yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, don't be afraid of doing it. Now, you don't want to go too far, because what will happen is at one end of the set or the other, you're going to have a whole bunch of one. So for instance, if you hard step, you're all going to have a whole bunch of pitching wedge shafts down at the bottom, and that very well may be counterproductive as well. So you got to keep the whole job in mind, not just the first two clubs. There you go. Hey, Brian, your brother Alex has been giving you down the road, man. Says you can't hit the broadside of a barn. Not really, but he says you guys got it going on, man. That's awesome. How did the 3-wood work out too, by the way? Okay. Here we go. Don Kumon. What is the shortest driver length you would go? I currently have a 4375 Callaway Maverick with the Aldo La Rogue White 60X. Wow. Dude, you're stout. I would imagine 43 would probably be the lowest I would want to go, because you start messing around with where you butt trim, and you almost, as much as you can tip trim too much, you can also butt trim too much. And 43 would be about where I would look at it. That's for me personally. Now, if I wanted another quarter of an inch, is that going to hurt anything? Probably not. But 43 is what I would look at. Here we go. Everything is wait a minute. Whoa. I thought here we go. Everything's canceled. Yeah. Oh, man. That's too bad. We're good buddies with Mike. I think he was the 14. He was the 14 world champion. I basically get to catch up with him every year. The dude's a monster. Super nice guy. And it's funny, I was watching him. He was on a simulator just hitting balls for fun. Had a 6-iron, and I think he was hitting a 6-iron something like 275. Just some crazy number, and it didn't look like he was swinging hardly at all. Silly toad. He hurt himself though, and I think he's just now back out of the physical therapy. All right, here we go. Well, I think we talked about that one, man. It's two things. It's the golfer's ego likes hitting that one big long shot, and the cosmetic. But yes, you're right. They need to be shorter. I'm a super big proponent of that. Dale, to come out of the UK with that thing, dude, that's huge. I would love to do that, but if you've got a dent, you really are looking for it as a what do you call it, a heirloom type piece, uh, I would seriously give Ping a call. That way you can have exactly what it is that you want, because what is really going on is it means more to you from a personal standpoint than a playability standpoint. And although it'd be great for her to meet somebody from the UK, that's a lot. That's a lot of expense, a lot of time for this. And I understand the personal part of it, but in order for you to truly enjoy it and have it the way it was, is that I would certainly give them a call first. And not that I don't want to deal with it, it's just that I want you to have the best club that you can possibly have, so that when you're thinking of your mother, that you can think of that in a positive way. Yeah, right. And I remember when you remember in the day when the length of the club could be around 50 to 52 inches. I don't even know how they would be able to swing that thing in February. Man, dude, everything is going around so long like that. Okay, that's cool. All right, very happy. Cobra has a tour length option. Yes, right. I mean, and you can get them custom made at other places as well. I mean, all the places will make a 44.5 inch driver for you. You just have to ask. It is Kendrick, isn't it? Well done, man. It just hit me that you were Kendrick. Hopefully everything's going well for you. All righty. All right. Player comes to you with a broken club, and it comes from a frequency match set. How do you measure your frequency with or without a grip on? Well, so here's the thing. Uh, it depends on how the most proper way of doing it to get the exact frequency that you're looking for is to take the grip off. That's number one. However, if you cannot, then you have to know what kind of grip is on the club. And I've done this as a thing to know for this very reason. I cut corded grips, multi-compound grips, rubber grips, wind type grips of this, and I would put them back on it, and I would do frequency tests with them to see how much they would change. And there is a big change. For instance, the rubber grip is around 12 CPM less, right? It makes it more flexible, where 12 to 15, where the wind grip is around 20, and the multi-compound is in that same, like the MCC4s, right? Because they're a little softer, in that same 12 to 15. And then you can go lower when you get into the corded grips, like the Z grips and the Tour Velvet cords, and it gets less. And what I do is I just add that to the number that I get, and I try to make it to that. So that's what I try to do. All right. There you go, Andy. Let's see if we can do that. Good job, man. Well done, sir. Okay. Good. I'm glad you like the 3-wood. Well, so I just had a lady in here who was a pharmacist from a neighboring town, and she was very steep with her clubs, and she was a short little gal. And normally, what happens is when you swing, and here's the club guy talking about swings. But what happens is that the arms get well away from the body, and when the arms get well away from the body, you get disconnected. There's all this space, and you have no room but to come straight down and come around. That is one of the biggest ways of doing that. One of the ways that you could probably stop her is go get a couple of head covers and shove them underneath her arms, and now tell her to swing. And what it is, it's basically a couple of things. Either the hands are getting away or you're tilting like this. Okay. And so when you put those club covers underneath of it, now you have to turn. You have to get that way. Try that and see how that works. I ordered them last night, as a matter of fact, and I'm ordering an extra of each one so I can bend them up so I don't have to worry about bending. And I've ordered them. Now, when they show up, that's a whole nother set. But hopefully in 2 weeks, we'll be talking to the man himself, and we'll let you know. $140s and $150s, man, that puts you right up in there with all of them. The last I saw, about $145, $148 was it. So you're right there. And you're right. It does. I've watched guys. It takes an issue. You got to be massively strong, massively strong, or massively, protected. I guess is the way to do it. Good job. Good for you, man. Good for you. Oh, it is time. All right, I got these two left. Jeff, dent removal from an auto body shop. Man, that's possible. I always wondered about that if it would work. Sometimes what happens is you get that crinkle in the end, depending on where it's at. Oh, okay, guys, I got 2 more answers, and then we've got to go. All right, club fitters say my proper putter length is 36. All my putters are 35. Is it really worth to add the extension to gain the inch? Yes, do it. If you've been fit and you're actually doing well at 36 inches, do it. Get the 30. It's an inch. Anything will, at that particular point, you can get it glued in, get it, and refurbish your grip. I mean, if it's not brand new, it'll give it a better feel and it'll do all kinds of things for you. So that's what I would do. Ricardo, the only difference between the two there should be no head weight difference. If they're the same STs and the same STs, I know they make them to the same thing, and they with the adapter in it, it should be 205. They're very traditional in their things. All right, guys, one more. Here we go. Heavy progressive iron sets where the club heads change. Do they have the same? Do they do the same with golf shafts where they change the length? Progressive iron sets where the heads change. Well, in most sets, the heads do change in shape in order to produce the certain flights and the way they interact with the turf. And what they normally do is they have standard shafts in them. However, if you're looking at where they've done the one length through 3 through the 6 and the 7, the pros and cons, honestly, I've never really dealt with that. I've dealt with single length before, to be sure, but I've not dealt with doing that. And I'm not so certain that is something that would work. I just don't know, because the 3 through 6 would actually be shorter, and the 7 through pitching wedge would actually be longer. So that's what it is. All right, guys. So another thing is, before I sign off, guys, thank you from all over the world, all over the U.S. That has been phenomenal. If you would, remember to like and or subscribe if you have not already. And as usual, let's see your scores. Go low.